Next, we'll get into me versus AI. Uh, Me versus AI in fantasy football. As I mentioned before, I'm in two different leagues. One league, I drafted all the players based on my own knowledge of football and kind of how I thought they would play. But for my other team, what I did was I utilized AI. First of all, LM Notebook. Shout out to LM Notebook to give me a proposed draft board, right? And based on how the draft went, right, I kind of asked it for suggestions in terms of who I should select. So, and I thought it'd be a good thing to turn this into a series where each week I go through to see whether each team won or whether if each team won or lost, who scored more points, right? And then also I'm gonna allow AI to set my lineups for the next week, right? And I'm gonna choose my lineups for my other league as well. So yeah, I guess so. Kind of starting off, right? I'm officially 1-0 in both leagues. I was able to behind I think Lamar Jackson, as you see, Bijan Robinson, and then in the other league I have Josh Allen and Derrick Henry. They put up astronomical numbers, so I was able to pull out with a victory. So I'm happy. It's a great start to the fantasy football season. So let's see if the trend can kind of continue. So kind of just do a review of last week, right? So this is my AI based fantasy football team, right? As you can see, Lamar did well, 33 points, base, which is what, six above his projected 27. Bijan Robinson crushed it. He had 31 points compared to 19 that was projected. James Conner had 12. Terry McLaurin and Devontae Smith kind of underwhelmed, which is okay because Bijan and Lamar kind of carried that slack. And then Trey McBride kind of undersold. Rome Odunze for the wide receivers for the Bears came in clutch, finished 2 points above his projected. The Seahawks defense kind of, even though they lost, kind of put up decent numbers against 49ers. And then McLaughlin, who was the kicker for the Buccaneers, underperformed as well. So as you can see from my AI-driven team, right, a lot of players underperformed. However, because Lamar Jackson and Bijan Robinson overperformed by so much, right, they were able to kind of balance it out, right? And for the total for week one, I finished under my projections. They projected me to score 121 points. I ended up going 117, but that was good enough for me to kind of secure the victory. Also kind of going to my bench. Stephon Diggs definitely underperformed. Ja'Cory, who was slept on, by the way, is a running back for Washington. They're doing definitely a dual combo running back where it's between him and Austin Eckler. But this dude is nice. I was watching some of their games and I definitely slept on him. So he may get the start this week. We'll see what the AI has to say. Nick Chubb did decent. Colston Loveland was kind of a reach pick. He didn't do too well. Jared Goff sold, which again, I'm surprised that the Lions looked that bad against the Packers. I know usually in a divisional game, right off the bat, it's kind of like a tough game to play, especially being away. But I expected the Lions to look way better than that. And then Ray Davis didn't really do nothing. He's kind of like a backup option in Buffalo. But yeah, so that's kind of how I finished out the first week for my AI team. And this is how my this is my drafted team where I just drafted based on my knowledge, right? And we scored a lot more points and more than AI. Right, so if it was me versus the AI-driven team, I would have won that matchup by at least 20 points, or around 19 points, right? But like we had big days from Josh Allen, he had 38 points. Derrick Henry, baller, 29. Alvin Kamara had 13. AJ Brown sold us, right? He only had 1 point, or around 2 points, but he was projected at 16. Devontae Adams had 9 points. George Kittle balled out. Unfortunately, he's hurt now. But he kind of had a touchdown and had 12.5 points. Cortland Sutton over-delivered, right? He scored 18, even though he's projected to do it 13. Texans defense played great, even though they lost, right? They had 8 points compared to a projected 6. And then again, I have Chase McLaughlin in both leagues, so he definitely underperformed. So yeah, I had and then I overperformed in terms of my projection total. They projected me to have 125 points. I came in at 136. Also, my bench did a lot better too than the other AI. Better than my AI bench did, right? DJ Moore had 8.5. Breece Hall, again, Breece Hall was a great pick for us. I was able to get him at. So he might get the start for me this week because he had 16.5. Jordan Love kind of balled out. Jacoby Myers, right? I started A.J. Brown and Devontae Adams based on the name, but Jacoby Myers might be in my starting lineup now that Geno is the quarterback for the Raiders. I think he's going to definitely get a lot more receptions and yards. Dallas Goedert kind of balled out, and he got 10. I didn't know he was questionable, so might have to check that out. And then Stephon Diggs had 11.5. So yeah. So we're going to. This is going to be the team that I choose a lineup for, right? So we'll see kind of who I should pick. So we have Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a lock. Derrick Henry playing Cleveland, a lock. Alvin Kamara playing San Francisco versus Breece Hall playing Buffalo. Derrick Henry just went crazy against Buffalo, but that's because that's Derrick Henry. Would Breece Hall be able to do the same thing? And do I think Alvin Kamara has a better shot at doing better against San Fran? So I'm gonna come back to that. So AJ Brown versus Kansas City. I think AJ Brown's gonna be able to dominate that matchup better than DJ Moore's gonna be able to dominate Detroit. So I'll leave that there. Excuse me. Devontae Adams is playing Tennessee. So we'll leave things status quo, right? I think I like the matchups. AJ Brown versus Kansas City because they don't really have no corners like that. Tennessee, the same thing. So I think, and also because AJ Brown wasn't heavily used in the offense against Dallas, I think they're going to make it a point to get him the ball in this game. So I'm keeping AJ Brown, Devontae Adams. I'm going to move George Kittle to there, move him to the bench, and I'll kind of monitor Dallas Goedert because I really don't want to drop any of these tight ends because I think they both have a chance to have a great season. But if I got to drop one, it's going to be Dallas Goedert. Cortland Sutton at Indy. Indy shut down the Miami Dolphins at home too. So for the Broncos to go in there, that might be a tougher matchup than I previously anticipated. And then we got Jacoby Myers on Monday. Do I want that? Do I want Jacoby Myers in versus the Chargers at home? Or do I want Cortland Sutton at Indy? I'm going to make that bold pick, especially because the Raiders are at home. It's Monday night against a divisional opponent. I think Jacoby Myers being our number one receiver, I think that's going to be a good place to start him at. Or this will be a good time to have him start, right? And then we have the Bills. The Texans are playing Tampa Bay on Monday. The Bills are playing the Jets. I'm going to move the Bills here simply because I think Justin Fields is going to be more prone to mistakes than I think Baker is. And I think Baker's offense is a little bit more potent the Bucs offense is going to be a little bit more potent than the Jets offense. I know the Jets put up a lot of points this week, against the Steelers, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but I think after 1 week, other teams are going to be able to scheme against you and things like that, so they'll make it a little bit tougher in terms of maybe not as many points is going to be scored. But I think the Texans are going to, especially after last week, are going after getting after the loss last week, are going to come back a little bit tougher, especially they're going to be at home. And I think Tampa Bay might put up a little bit more points. Now that I'm kind of saying that out loud, I'm going to move the Texans here. I'm going to switch the Texans with the Bills, right? The Texans showed out against a good Rams offense. They're going to be at home again. It's going to be Monday night. And I think the Jets have a little bit more potent offense than before. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, which means for the defense, it's going to be a lot less points, right? So we'll keep it like that. The Texans are going to go into my starting defensive spot, and then we'll keep Chase McLaughlin as my starting kicker for now. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully this game is an all all field goal type of game. So my defense gets a lot of points, and then also Chase McLaughlin gets a lot of points. Next, so I got to do Breece Hall versus Alvin Kamara. I think with those linebackers and defensive linemen, I definitely think Alvin Kamara is going to kind of get shut down, especially because they don't have a good passing game, so they're going to just zero in on him. And I think Breece Hall, at least Justin Fields looks better, right? And they have Garrett Wilson, so they at least got to play the run a little bit honest. So I'm starting Breece Hall this week. So this is going to be my lineup for week 2 of my pick team. And so everything's set. My sources are on my left-hand side. The prompt is here, right, in terms of what I'm asking it. So let's see what the matchup is, or what the lineup is going to be. Let me say my bad. Please select, because also when you're using AI, make sure what you're asking it is going to be very specific, right? And I'm glad I read this over, because I was just going to put please select the starting lineup. So it might pull this a lineup over for the entire generic, or for the entire overall season, right? But what I wanted to do is select a starting lineup based on week 2. For week 2. Schedule. Let me see. I just want to make sure I'm very particular. And I want to see what it's going to give me. There we go. There we have it, right? So based on your fantasy football roster and the provided sources, here's your recommended lineup for week 2, right? Quarterback, Lamar Jackson. And the one thing I like about Notebook LM, it doesn't just give you just spit out just like names, right? What it does is also provide you a rationale as to why it made that decision, what it kind of pulled from in regards to sources, to kind of really evaluate in that decision. So quarterback 1, obviously, is Lamar Jackson. Jackson had a strong week 1 performance, passing for 209 yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. His week 2 opponent is the Cleveland Browns. While the Browns defense is ranked as the 10th toughest for quarterbacks, right? Jackson's efficiency in week 1 suggests he can still perform well. Jared Goff, your other quarterback option, had a lower week 1 passing stats, and faces the Chicago Bears, who are ranked as the 12th toughest defense for QBs. So, kind of provides you rationale where it's kind of like, okay, well, Lamar Jackson is still facing a tough defense. However, based on how he performed, can still do well. right? And then how Jared Goff, even though he's facing maybe a lesser defense, how he might still struggle or not do as well as Lamar, right? Okay. So they want me to go with running backs, Bijan Robinson. Okay, Robinson's a highly rated player, appearing as a third overall player in the Week 2 flex rankings. He faces Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings defense is ranked 26, and setting a slightly unfavorable matchup. Despite this, his high expert ranking suggests strong confidence in his performance. Okay. James Conner. Conner is highlighted as a favorable matchup for Week 2. The Arizona Cardinals will play the Carolina Panthers, who run defense is described as shoddy and would be without Dean Tarshawn Wharton due to injury. The Panthers are ranked 20th for running backs, which is a favorable matchup. Conner is in need of such a matchup after averaging 3.3 yards carry in Week 1. Very in depth, right? Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs and Terry McLaurin, huh? Interesting choice, right? Stephon Diggs. Diggs is listed under others to like in the wide receiver matchups for Week 2. He faces the Miami Dolphins. Although the Dolphins is ranked as the 14th toughest for wide receivers, they struggled defensively in Week 1, making Daniel Jones look like a fantasy superstar and showing issues with the starting cornerbacks. So I guess we're going with Stephon, right? Terry McLaurin, Washington Commanders. McLaurin's Week 2 opponent is the Green Bay Packers. The Packers' defense is ranked as the 10th toughest for receivers, so it's indicating an unfavorable matchup. However, among your other available wide receivers, Devontae Smith, Chiefs, Roma Duzier face even tougher matchups based on adjusted fantasy points allowed. Okay. Interesting. Terry McBride. McBride faces the Carolina Panthers. Okay, so same thing where they're facing the Panthers, so they're going to be just a cakewalk. So they're expecting the Arizona Cardinals to win big. And then obviously they're going to go with the Seattle defense and the kicker Chase McLaughlin. Okay, so in true fashion, we'll go with, let me see who the picks are, and let me see if I can add that. Save notes. Delete that. So they want me to go with Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson, James Conner, and they said Stephon Diggs, huh? Okay. And then they want Trey McBride, Rome, and then they say Rome, and they want Nick Chubbs instead of, okay, Chase McLaughlin. So that's what the AI says that they want to see. That's what they want to see. Give me a second. Interesting thought. And I'm just messing around with stuff now. Let's see. I think if we use Google Gemini, because I think this is just provided on sources that we provided to Notebook. But let's see. We just do straight to Gemini. Let's see. I want to see if Gemini is going to give us the exact same response. No. Different, huh? So again, they want us to start Devontae Smith, because I guess they're saying the rationale is that the Chiefs and Eagles game is going to be very high scoring, and they said put Stephon Diggs at at flex. Also, I might start using Gemini for this. Let me see. Thoughts. We'll go this week because it's Notebook LM. We'll trust Notebook LM with the sources that we gave it in regards to the rankings, injury reports, scheduling, things of that nature. So we'll see kind of how it pans out for this week. But yeah, lineups are set. This is what it's going to be for this week. Again, this is what my roster is going to look like in terms of the AI-driven team. And this is what my roster is going to look like for the team that I kind of just pick based on my knowledge. We will be reviewing this on a week-to-week basis. So next Wednesday, next time I stream this, we'll go over in terms of to see how the teams did, kind of see if I won or lost, and kind of compare it against how I did versus the AI. So a very interesting series for the channel. If you do like the video, please like and subscribe as well, because we're going to be doing this for the entire season, right? Good little research project to kind of see who's smarter in terms of football, me or AI.